As English as a second language learners, we spend a lot of time studying English. I'm guessing many of you, if not all, study English by yourself. Maybe at home, maybe at a nice coffee shop, or maybe when you commute. If this is the case, this lesson is for you. When we study English by ourselves alone, we have no problem studying grammar or practicing reading, writing, or listening. However, when it comes to practicing speaking, it's totally different story because not all English learners live in an English speaking country. For those who study English alone and live in a country in which English is not the first language, we don't get a lot of opportunities to speak in English with real people in real life. Therefore, the challenge is especially daunting. Then, what are we supposed to do when we have no one to speak to? The main reason why we study English is to communicate our thoughts, feelings, and ideas with others. This is why we English learners want to improve our English speaking skills. And we know that being good at English grammar doesn't mean we can speak the language fluently. We also have learned that language exposure alone, such as watching movies and listening to podcasts in English, doesn't guarantee English speaking proficiency. If we want to improve our English speaking skills, we have to practice speaking by actually speaking the language. But the problem is, how do you practice speaking when you are alone? When you don't have a speaking partner? When you watch YouTube English lessons by yourself? When you are too shy to speak English in front of others? And when you lack English speaking confidence? What are we supposed to do? You are not alone. Many English learners around the world feel the same way. But the good news is there is a technique that can help you improve your English speaking by yourself. Yes, by yourself when you are alone. This technique will help you improve your grammar, your vocabulary, and your confidence. Yet, the true effectiveness of this technique is to improve your ability to express your thoughts, feelings, and ideas in your own word. What is this technique? Good thing you asked. I call it speaking to yourself. This speak to yourself technique is a little different from imitation technique or repeat after me technique, where you verbally repeat what someone is saying word by word. Speaking to yourself technique is a little more advanced and a little more effective. At least, this is what I think. Let's go over how this technique works. First, you listen to a sentence, a dialogue, a story, or maybe a short lecture. Then you change them using your own words to speak to yourself. There are four ways to go about this: being meaningful, asking questions, paraphrasing, and summarizing. Let's first go over how you can speak to yourself by being meaningful. Let's say you're learning a new word, sibling, which means a brother or sister. And you're listening to a sentence like this one. For example, I have two siblings. Instead of repeating this sentence over and over again, first repeat it once or twice to check your pronunciation. Then use your own word to make this sentence meaningful to you. In other words, make it realistic because not everyone has two siblings, right? You can make this sentence meaningful and realistic by saying, "Oh, he has two siblings. I don't have two siblings. I have five siblings." This is how you speak to yourself about his siblings and your siblings based on your real life situation. Let's say you're learning the phrase talk behind one's back, which means to discuss or gossip about someone when he or she is not around. Let's say the sample sentence was, he was talking behind my back. Now, just repeat this sentence once or twice, just to get the feel of it, and then give some meaning to it. Because, once again, this sentence is not really meaningful to you. This is a made up sentence, it's not real. Someone is not really talking behind your back right now. We need to give some meaning to this sentence by making it realistic to you. Ask yourself, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of this phrase, talk behind one's back? And you think your husband will never say something bad when you're not around. And you think you can use this phrase. If this is the first thing that came to your mind, this is a meaningful sentence because this is what you want to express. Now, try to say this in English using this phrase. My husband will never talk behind my back. This is meaningful. Or let's say you don't like this phrase because you don't like gossiping about someone. If this is the first thing that came to your mind, express this in English using this phrase. I don't like to talk behind someone's back. This is how you speak to yourself using the phrases or new words you are learning. At this point, you might have a question. How do I know if my sentence is right or wrong? Great question. But the thing is, it is not important at this stage to make a grammatically correct sentence every time you speak. The important thing is you need to develop a habit of speaking English based on the meaning of your choice. The accuracy of your speech comes later. Think about it this way. You need a large data set of your speaking sample to know what to correct. You need to speak first to correct your speech. So please, develop a habit of speaking English to yourself when you are alone. Now, let's see how you can speak to yourself by asking questions. Let's say, while you're studying English, you come across a sentence like this one. There has been a problem with my computer for 3 days now. Now, ask yourself, how would I ask a question to get this answer? This is another way to speak to yourself meaningfully. So, what do you think the question is? How long has there been a problem with your computer? Good job. Yes, this could be a good question for this sentence. I think we're on the same page on this one, right? Good. Here, before we go any further, we have to understand there could be many ways to ask a question to a given sentence, depending on what you want to focus on. Let's see an example. Yesterday, I met up with my high school friends at a nice coffee shop to talk about our high school reunion. For this sentence, you can ask when, where, who, and why. Let's generate a question with who. Who did you meet up with yesterday? This is a good question. For every sentence that interests you, ask yourself what type of question and how many questions you want to ask. You could make one, two, three, or as many as you want. It's up to you. Another way to speak to yourself is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is expressing the meaning of a sentence using different words. I'll give you an example. I need to pick up 3 bottles of water. You can paraphrase this sentence to I need to buy 3 bottles of water. I have to get 3 bottles of water. I must purchase 3 bottles of water. You can change the word pick up with buy, get, and purchase. You can also change need to with have to or must. Need to, have to, must have different nuances, I know. But the main purpose of this exercise is to make you speak. So I think it's okay. The more you speak, the more you shine. For clarification purpose, let's do one more example. Let's say you are learning the phrase on the same page, which means understand and agree with someone. Look at this sentence. Are we on the same page on this? You can paraphrase this to do we all agree on this? Or I want to ask if we are on the same page on this. Or I want to check if we all agree on this. Using the words that you already know is a good way to learn new vocabulary. This is why paraphrasing is very effective. The last but not the least way to speak to yourself is summarizing. If you're listening or watching something that has many sentences, one good way to give meaning to it is to summarize it in your own words. For example, let's say you heard something like this. If you're sleep deprived or just looking for a way to relax, you might be thinking about taking a nap. It should be noted that napping at the wrong time of the day or for too long can backfire. And napping is not for everyone. It is important to understand how to get the most out of a nap. It has been reported that short naps between 10 and 20 minutes is good enough. Wow, this is long, right? With this type of listening, it is best to get the key point and state it in your own words. Like, oh, it's not good for me to take a long nap. I should only take a nap for 10 or 20 minutes. Please remember when you are speaking, the most important thing is meaningfulness. Your speaking has to be meaningful to you. Thus, summarizing a long speech in your own words is a good way to make it meaningful to you. One other thing when it comes to long listening, pick one or two interesting words or phrases that you like. Let's say, for example, sleep deprived is a phrase that you didn't fully understand and you are interested to know the meaning of it. First, look up the meaning. It means you don't get enough sleep. In other words, it's the same as lack of sleep. Now that you know its meaning, play with it. Play with the new word so that it is meaningful to you, such as change it to am I sleep deprived these days? Yes, I am sleep deprived. I need to sleep more because I am sleep deprived, and so on. Use it, play with the word so that it could stick to you and it is realistic to you. When you're listening to a long speech, don't focus on every single word. Focus on the key point and summarize it in your own words. And find a few interesting words or phrases that you like and play with them to make them yours. This is how you can speak to yourself when listening or watching something long. There you have it. 4 ways of speaking to yourself to improve your speaking skills by yourself. Even though we know that we need to practice speaking, it's not always easy for many reasons. I hope this technique helps you somewhat. I can't and I won't say that this technique will help everyone. All I can say is that it has helped me and it might help you. So at least give it a try and let me know how it goes. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.